Hi, everyone. This is the first of what is hopefully to be many episodes of Built to Last, which is the Curious podcast where we sit down with some of the CEOs who are building companies at our portfolio. I'm Shelly. I'm the product and design lead at Curious, and today I have four of our amazing CEOs joining us. So they're all remote and coming in from a lot of different locations because we are a remote first company. So today we have Jennifer from Uservoice. We have Jessica from Polymer, Nick from Convox, and then we also have Srey from Avenue. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Built to Last. So, before we dive in, I just want to have everyone sort of go around and hear where everyone is actually joining us from today. Where are you on this earth?
Okay, I'll start. I'm in Coleman, Alabama. Technically, I'm not actually in the city, though, if you can call it a city. That's a middle Alabama. So, yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
Thanks, Jess. I'll follow up. My name is Nick. I'm from the Curious CEO over here. I'm located out of Tarpon Springs, Florida, just out of Tampa.
Hey,
Right?
thanks, Nick. I'm in Washington, D.C.
And I am Jen. I'm here in beautiful New Jersey, the Garden State. I live in North Jersey, just outside of Manhattan.
Nice. So, actually, a decent amount of people on the East Coast. So awesome. So for today's first topic, this is going to be more of an intro, just given this is our first episode. But from the perspective of our CEOs, I just want to hear what makes Curious special as a company from your perspective. And so just a little short description about you, what your company does, and also your background as a leader. So how you ended up at Curious as a CEO and what drew you to it in the first place. Just for context, my job here is just kind of to get us started. From here, feel free for the conversation to ramp up and ask each other questions, go sideways if you want to, but I just want to make sure everyone feels like they have a place to have that dialogue. So who wants to kick off?
I'll take it since going first is easiest typically. You get to take all the easy answers. So I would definitely say one of my favorite things about working for Curious is just definitely the autonomy. And it's one of those things that probably is preached and offered a lot of the times, but not truly delivered upon. And it's definitely refreshing to know that I am leading Convox and the decisions are the things that I want to put on the roadmap, but I do still have that safety net. I have the finance teams and the support teams that are at Headco, the design team, Shelly, to assist when we need them. But really, we're allowed to operate as our individual entities and our individual co's that have shared goals within the overall ecosystem that is Curious. But generally speaking, we're all kind of out there doing our own missions, but really sort of under the same umbrella. It just doesn't always necessarily feel as forced as that way. So it's really nice to be able to have that autonomy that I think is often advertised, but not often delivered upon.
Since we're just going with the first part about what we like about Curious, I'll start with that. As Nick said, the autonomy is great. Also, though, I think it's good to have some context here. When the companies are acquired, they aren't taking it to flip it and make a huge amount of changes. Of course, there may be changes, and there's definitely a push with go-to-market. There's help offered, support offered, but you're not expecting everything to turn over and suddenly become very different. So that's nice, and it's part of what they offer the founders when they acquire it. And then as many people can come with the company along. And I am one of those people that came to Curious from the company originally. So I was originally with Polymer. Now I'm the CEO of Polymer. And so I came that way. And it's just been really nice because, of course, when you hear you're being acquired, you sometimes expect everything to change. And that doesn't happen. That's really nice. And it's nice also, as you can see here, we've got all these CEOs here. It's nice to be able to talk to people. I feel like that's unique. I didn't really hear about that happening anywhere else. So, I mean, it's great to have peers, so to speak, peers to talk to. And yeah, I really love how they're fostering that culture.
I'll go. Yeah, I think I maybe have kind of a unique situation in that I worked with Andrew Dumont a number of years ago, 12-ish years ago at this point. So he and I had a pre-existing colleague relationship from many years ago which was a great one. And so I think the main draw into this, as I was looking to make a significant career pivot, I think was that we worked well together. I have great respect for him. I like the way he operates. And so I knew that it was worth the conversation to come and see what he had been building. So my background historically has been product. Back in the day, I was once a fairly mediocre designer. So I really come at this from that perspective. But I love to learn new things. And I think like the history of like the 25 years of my career so far has been like really kind of adding to my knowledge base and taking on different challenges. I've definitely been on a path in my last few positions of taking on bigger and bigger roles. And when my last position was kind of winding down and coming to a close, I realized I really missed being close to the work, being able to work on something smaller, more interesting, more experimental. And so I think it was really just a good timing moment when Andrew and I reconnected and he talked to me about Curious, the autonomy, Nick, as you were saying, is really appealing. Plus the confidence that I had from a previous working relationship with Andrew that like what he was describing would probably be mostly true brought me over here. And it was really just, it was a moment when I was looking to come back and be really close to a smaller team on the work and have impact there. So that's what I'm most excited about. It's really enjoyable. There's a lot going on, but that's the part that I'm really enjoying is like being really close to things and less kind of at the 30,000 foot view all the time.
Awesome. And now I see, Nick, why you said going first is an advantage, but I can say I agree with everyone. And I think particularly, I think one of the things that I found, even in my short time here, is I think a lot of companies, you have a board and it turns into very quickly a bit of an adversarial relationship. And I think that is, from what I've seen, the exact opposite of what we have here, where it truly feels like everyone's on the same page, everyone's on the same team. And actually, I would attribute a lot of that to the fact that there isn't that expectation to quickly 10x the value of every company. And I think when you're trying to 10x the value of a company on not on like the profits, but on the valuation, there's so much subjectivity and people using their own opinions, and that can become when it's just people's opinions of what they think is going to happen. I think that becomes tricky, and then you just get into a bunch of arguments that there's no way to really decide except for like the board wins. Whereas I think our focus here on the numbers and on driving profits and value back to the org makes things a lot easier to just have full alignment on what's important. And I think that also makes everything everyone said about the autonomy, it makes it easy to actually have that come to fruition. So I think the whole system just really works well together.
I think like that sparked something I think we were chattering about before we actually got on is, and I will acknowledge perhaps a little bit of cynicism gathered over the years, but I think it started to feel like roles in tech companies were this sort of pawn in a commodities trading game, which wasn't the way it felt. You know, when I was first starting out, when I was younger, we were disrupting things. Like the technology was changing all the time. It felt like there were interesting the interesting products and the interesting technological capabilities kind of like had more prominence. And I think we kind of got into a place where all of that felt so commoditized and kind of like the commodities trading aspect of the board always wins took over. But I feel like one of the many fun things about the moment we find ourselves in now is it feels like there's interesting, nobody knows what's going to go on, Wild West technological innovation happening again, which is allowing us all to reset and rethink and work in different ways. And I think this setup that Curious has allows us to explore that and puts us in a good place to kind of try that out with a little bit of a safety net and get close to that experimental feeling again. I think for me, it feels like the earlier days of my career, even though I'm now responsible for everyone as a CEO, but it has that sort of, I'm interested in the work. It's really fun. We can tear things up again. And it feels like, yes, we're here to add value and grow these businesses responsibly, but it feels again like there's opportunity for it to be something new and different. And we're in an exploratory phase again.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that in the sense that AI is presenting almost a .com sort of style leveling of the playing field where You can look at roadmap expansion and bridge build in ways that you couldn't think possible before. The 10x engineer is sort of a trope, but it can be a reality. And I've certainly found that with the right AI enabling flows, you can radically change your product and your business in ways that would not be feasible. Like the race isn't so much already gone and lost anymore if one of your competitors or someone within a vertical is potentially 10 steps ahead of you, because it's one of my favorite memes that I've seen recently is Claude's over here telling me this is about a 6-month time to develop, but it doesn't realize that I'm about to burn 10 million tokens and we're going to have it done by the end of the weekend. And to a degree, if you can dev and test it and you can do it well and you can burn the tokens, why not? And I feel like those are bridges that previously, scaling out that level of work and development was not something you could, really conceive about. And now it's not just conceivable, it's actionable. So I think you have a lot of places where you need to be able to understand you can look that previously weren't even really worth looking at because you needed to go about the planning process differently. And to a degree that makes everything much more exciting. And we don't just need to sell everything we're doing and buy GPUs. I don't know if anyone's been following
Why are we buying GPUs?
Allbirds, the sneaker company. Like they just abandoned everything and just bought a bunch of GPUs.
I
Like
thought this might come up in conversation. Yeah, honestly, the
we
first
could just
intro episode,
sell it
maybe we can
all.
talk about what do we consider like, what did you think of that? Like, did you find it extremely absurd? Did you think like maybe there is some merit to it? Is it
Well, their
just,
stock jumped, I think, so
what's that?
their stock jumped 4x right away. So.
Well, they were also down 99%, I
Yeah.
think, when it jumped
Ouch.
200. So it's relative gains there. I think if you're in a business that's collapsing, and it sounds like the custom resale sneaker industry is sort of having a really tough time, and you have capital, I think buying a bunch of GPUs right now isn't the worst idea, but I don't think every business should just turn and become a GPU farm.
Yeah.
I mean, that was sort of the craze when crypto was going on, and I don't think that's been very fastidious for a lot of people that have got into it.
Yeah. I mean, I think, did you call it absurd, Shelley? I think it is absurd, but I think everything absurd is on the table right now, which I am a little bit of an anarchist, so I enjoy. But yeah, I think absurd is on the table. And why not? If you're going to stay alive as a business for the long haul, you are going to be very different than you probably were at the beginning. Otherwise, you're going to go away. So, hey, go for it.
There's very different, and then there's completely and entirely totally different. Like I would have expected maybe a little bit of a
Yeah.
renaming to go on something else. Like it's just not the same company. I mean,
No.
that's the absurd part of it, really. You
Yeah.
expect companies to evolve, and there are certainly lots of companies that didn't used to do anything involving AI who have now pivoted so that they can have AI front and center.
I see it is and it isn't. Like like we're talking Allbirds specifically. Like previously, what were they? They were buying a commodity and then hoping to gain appreciable
I thought they
value on it over time. And so if like they're reselling like custom sneakers, I think was their or rare sneakers, sneaker house basically. Am I
Mm-mm.
missing? Oh, I missed the
No, no,
pronounce.
no.
They made their own sneakers. Yeah.
Oh, they
had
made their own sneakers.
Sneaker
So
factory.
I skimmed. Oh man, my authoritativeness is just too much on
yeah,
skimming.
not authoritative.
Well, they used to sell sneakers for tech bros, and now
Yeah.
Okay, that's
so
maybe
I think they're
the
selling
That's probably
GPUs
where
to
you
tech
made
bros
that
now.
connection.
I
Yeah.
thought they were doing that type
They had
of
one
stuff.
particular really popular sneaker, and I guess, yeah, I'm gonna guess that there was like custom sneakers that was really big. I don't know, might still be really big for some collectors. I
So,
have
so yeah, my whole collector argument's out the window. I thought they were one of the large accumulators of like rare shoes that were hoping to appreciate them over time. But I suppose,
that would be a little bit closer.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, it is
No,
quite absurd, I guess, that a
But yeah,
manufacturer.
Jen, like you said, like absurd is on the table now.
What was all on the table?
Yeah, everything's sort of being upended, and maybe that's a fun like question for you guys. Like when that news came out, everyone was like, "This is crazy." They're like, "This bubble has to burst at some point." And maybe the question I have for you guys is like, do you think there's even a line where it's like that's too absurd? Or I remember I was in Las Vegas like several years ago, and I was at the Coca-Cola store, and they were advertising a Coca-Cola that had been made with AI. Like, AI changed the recipe, and they were advertising that as, like, a net new feature. Try an AI, like, an AI
Mm.
integrated, like, recipe of Coca-Cola. Like, is there a line
Did
where
you learn
absurd is
more
like, "Okay, you
from
actually
that?
crossed it," versus, like, you're just trying to put AI
And
into
maybe
it
this
to say
question
that you
is
put
like,
an AI into it. When does it actually feel meaningful, even if it is absurd?
Not when they're redoing Coke. I mean, you can't do that. In
no,
the end, Coke is Coke.
no. New Crystal Pepsi was a disaster.
Wait, but Jessica, in Alabama, don't they say Coke to mean like all soft drinks?
I have to be honest, I'm
Yeah.
not from around here.
It's very confusing.
It's the South thing. Yeah, no, you order Coke. What type of Coke? A Dr. Pepper. That's a
Yeah,
standard restaurant exchange. Yes,
that's true.
we're not on pop level though.
I was thinking about that. I had a roommate from Michigan once, and man, always pop this, pop that. I was like, what are you even talking about? Soda.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Guys,
Let's go to the absurdity question.
yeah,
Does
the
it go too far?
is vanishing though. It really is. Like 3 months ago, I would have probably had a different answer to this.
Yeah.
I think it's going to take some turns like 3D TVs. You know, that was a flash in the pan that some people had. You're going to see wild experiments, and a lot of it's not going to land. A lot of it's marketing stuff. There's reasons to go do stupid stuff just because it's going to get your company on, on the news these days. Like,
Yeah.
if someone's going to write a feature story, it pays for itself, even if it itself is kind of dumb tech. And that's kind of just where we're at right now. But it's that is why the Wild West analogy is pretty apropos.
Yeah. I mean, I think most of it, yeah, I agree with you. Some of these marketing things are actually very smart, wise agency plays to say, look, we can market literally anything and we'll use this in marketing, which good on them. I think what appealed to me coming into Uservoice in particular is that I think we're talking about, everyone's all in a panic about SaaS companies going away. SaaS has no place, yada, yada. And I think for a lot of companies that rely solely on the benefit of streamlining workflow, right? Or like a better UX as the heart of what they're selling, that's an easy thing to disrupt. I think what I enjoy about the investments here at Curious, and what in particular this one appealed to me, is that the core data asset at the center of Uservoice still has high value. It is still really, really hard to get at qualitative human described right out of your brain feedback, right? That is still a valuable thing that you can't fully AI into existence. And then aggregating that and scaling it is intimidating, it's frightening, everyone's scared of what users are saying and reading between the lines and all of that stuff. So I think the product itself is aging. It's aged more rapidly because of the advent of the last couple of years and AI-driven interfaces and the way we expect to interact with data and products, which I think is the fun part. So we have a fun engineering and product and design challenge, which I think is a great problem to have. But the core of what we have right now is still not easy to replace with AI or replace with something automated. So that's what excited me, is like, I think there's a window of opportunity for a business that has like still this core, not easy to get at asset. And we can always remake the experience around it, the product packaging, the value proposition. Shelley, you've been helping us really rethink the way that we're going to market and presenting ourselves. And there's a lot of experimentation there to have. So I think maybe it was absurd a year ago, 2 years ago, to think that you were gonna sit down and have a conversation with unstructured data in an application. That felt absurd not that long ago. And that's really what we're trying to accomplish, right? Like, you can talk to your data now. You can talk to a table of information. We have a product that's set up for like manual spreadsheet manipulation. And now everyone's like talking to information via chats and agents and things like that. So it's all absurd. I think we have to think about the core asset at the center of our businesses and how we make it less absurd, because we have something valuable, difficult to disrupt, not easily commoditized, and then we can play on top of it with all of these interesting, exciting new tools that the technology is bringing us.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught the Bezos talk the other day, where he was basically using the AI is like the horizontal enabling layer now. And realistically, selling AI isn't what is going to win the race, because anyone, like, AI just exists like as an asset is not something that's it's not going to be what is the true market. But selling what AI makes possible is what's really going to be the next level, because we now have this enabling layer where, like you said, you can interface with things in ways, and not just through like scripting, like a very complex, thought driven, like ways you can interface with just different objects that wasn't available before. And thinking inside of that space and outside of the old space of data pipelines is really what's going to, I think, take software to the next level and really differentiate the players at the next phase of, I don't know, whatever we're calling it, filtering, bubble pops.
Just on the software as a service, I don't think, if you think about it, yes, I just wanted to touch on this because yes, it's not just, you have to think about it this way, right? So a lot of products are like, if they're too straight to like a single consumer, but like the business to business aspect of it, especially when you're thinking about SaaS, what nobody's really saying is that a lot of companies have always had the capacity to build in-house software. They just don't. And that, I don't really think that's going to change. I do think there will require less people to build software, but maintaining software, staying up to date, keeping it compliant, keeping it secure, all of those things is a task that it's not like it's a one and done. And that's why people haven't been building in-house software. It's because they find it too difficult to maintain. The cost ends up being higher for them managing it themselves. And I don't really think that is going to change significantly. I do think that SaaS companies are going to get leaner as a result of this, just less employees. But I don't know that the product itself, such as Uservoice, and especially systems of record, are going to degrade as much as people seem to think, because we could have done it. We had the capacity in companies to create in-house software.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that as well. I think the thought that everyone's just going to have their AI agents in-housing things is kind of as unrealistic as just developing them. Like you can certainly do it and you can maintain it, but there's a cost associated with it. You know, you can burn tokens, but that is going to drive your costs. What was it? Uber just reported they've burned through their entire AI budget already this year because Claude overages have been burning them. So you can do these things, but is it going to be worth it for you as a sole proprietor to develop every single esoteric piece of software that you need to use? So I certainly agree that the fear-mongering theme that all SaaS is going away is not going to be there. But I certainly think you're going to see a thinning of the herd and new players emerge because there's new expectations and new things are going to become table stakes, and those that don't keep up with it by any means necessary, I think will certainly be susceptible to that and probably will be crying the SaaS is dead sort of mantra, whereas really it's just a lack of adaptability. What's been working for 5 years is not going to be working a year from now or 2 years from now. And I think every SaaS needs to have that ever present in their mind.
Yeah,
I think
agreed. I was just agreeing.
Yeah, I think that maybe is an excellent stopping point for us and maybe something that we can continue that conversation on for our next episode.
A
But
stern warning from Nick.
not a stern warning, but just a honest opinion and an honest intake of like how things are looking today. And is it a warning or is it a heads up? Okay. Thank you guys for participating in the first episode. I will, I'm sure to have another one scheduled very soon. But and another thing I want to say is ideally we'll get some guests on at some point. So you can interrogate them, they can interrogate you, and we can have even more dialogue there. Yeah, but appreciate everyone's time here and thank you guys for listening.